This is the World News at 12 on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. My name is Chioma Innocent, and here are the top stories. Trump refuses to commit to second debate with Kamala Harris. Labour Party reveals Peter Obi hired Aisha, Yesufu and Godalo to loot campaign funds. Obaseki threatens to boycott peace accord in Edo State, and revelations emerge on how governors led federal government into borrowing to fund fuel subsidy. In Borno State, over 30 confirmed dead and 1 million affected as flood ravages Maiduguri. Details now. Thank you for staying with us. The news at 12 begins outside the shores of Nigeria, where former President Donald Trump has begun to shut down the possibility of a second march against Vice President Kamala Harris after debating her on Tuesday night, claiming he doesn't need to debate her again as he won the previous debate. Less than an hour after the U.S. presidential debate ended on Tuesday night, Kamala Harris' campaign called for another matchup. The campaign put out an email touting her performance at the debate and blasting Trump for his responses and demeanor. Trump said he's looking at the polls, boasting about what he believed is a lead over Harris in polling numbers. Harris reportedly leads Trump 47 to 44%, according to 538's polling average. Meanwhile, the National Working Committee of the Labour Party has urged the National Security Advisor (NSA) and the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) to probe Aisha, Yesufu, Pastor Itwa Igodalo, the party's 2023 presidential candidate Peter Obi, and leaders of Afenifere over alleged misappropriation of funds from the 2023 presidential campaign. Party's National Publicity Secretary Abure Arabambi made the call at a press conference on Wednesday in Ogun State. He expressed concern over recent comments by Aisha Yesufu, who defended herself against accusations of being involved in the alleged diversion of the 2023 campaign funds. The Labour Party had alleged that Aisha Yesufu, along with Pastor Igodalo and other accomplices, mismanaged and diverted 12 billion naira and $15 million donations intended for the Labour Party's campaigns. Let's take a listen to Julius Abure.
The funding of the election itself was done by Peter Obi himself. The party was never involved in the distribution of those resources. Our interest was to see how we can produce a president for the party. However it was done, we didn't bother ourselves about it. Hence, we gave them free hands. Whoever they trusted, whoever they wanted to entrust their resources to, we didn't want to bother ourselves with it. We followed them sheepishly. We followed them loyally and allowed them to administer the funds of the campaign for the election, and so on and so forth. As per the donation, the party was not involved in the collection of any campaign donations. Donations to the campaign were channeled to the following accounts: Obi Dati Ahmed campaign accounts. The signatories to these accounts were Aisha Yesufu and Pastor Itwa Igodalo. They were equally responsible for the payment of polling unit agents. The party did not even bother to pay its agents.
Reacting, Aisha Yesufu had in a viral video posted on her official YouTube account challenged Abure to tell Nigerians what he did with the proceeds of the Labour Party 1,000 naira challenge campaign donations he has been raising since 2022.
Labour Party, the Abure faction, whether election, because of one thing, that monies were kept in my hand and I refused to send it to them. So when I noticed that something was amiss, I said stop all the payments. I think we had paid like maybe was it 2,000-3,000, I can't remember now. We just started paying. I told my team stop all the payment. I said something fishy is happening. That was when we realized that those Abure's people, the Labour Party, had given us fictitious names. Most of the names there weren't the names that were supposed to be there. They had been changed. Yes, I am saying this. If they want to go to court, please let us all meet in the court. Names had been changed. I've never spoken about this publicly because I just felt whatever has happened. Listen, we found that the names that were on that list were not the names that were supposed to be. Names had been changed. And what they did on election day was that they now started sending to me list of people that I was going to pay them. This one here.
Meanwhile, Governor Godwin Obaseki of Edo State has hinted that the People's Democratic Party (PDP) might not sign the peace accord today ahead of the September 21 governorship elections. He claimed that the Nigerian police were acting in the interest of the All Progressives Congress (APC) and waging war against the PDP. Governor Obaseki made the allegation when he received the chairman of the National Peace Committee, former military head of state General Abdul Salami Abubakar, during a courtesy visit to the government house ahead of the signing of the peace accord. He explained that the police, under the influence of the APC, had arrested no fewer than 10 PDP chieftains perceived as strong political opponents, including the 7th chairman of the Issa West local government area, Collins Aigbogun. Governor Obaseki explained that upon learning of the council chairman's arrest, he contacted the Edo State Commissioner of Police requesting that due process be followed and that the case be handled within the state jurisdiction. He said his plea was ignored, undermining his authority as the chief security officer of the state. The governor further wondered how a peace accord could be signed with an enforcement body that had demonstrated bias in favor of one of the parties in the election. Meanwhile, fresh revelations has emerged as the Nigerian Economic Summit Group exposed how governors spent the country's $50 billion excess crude account in 2010, which would have served as a buffer for petrol subsidy challenges. According to the NESG CEO, Dr. Tayo Aduloju, the governor's actions led to the depletion of the crude account, leaving the country vulnerable to external economic shocks. He said the governors in 2010 approached the Supreme Court to declare the ECA illegal, paving the way for them to share the fund. The federal government then disbursed the $50 billion fund to the 30 state governors between late President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua's death and former President Goodluck Jonathan's takeover. He said the reckless spending led to Nigeria's fuel subsidy problem as the country moved from a savings-based subsidy model to a revenue-based model. This disclosure comes as the recent hike in petrol prices to about 897 naira has worsened the pains of Nigerians, highlighting the need for responsible management of the country's resources. You will recall that under the administration of President Bola Tinubu, fuel subsidy removal has increased petrol prices to over 500 naira per litre from about 238 naira it was sold before. In a tragic development, the severe flooding which ravaged Maiduguri, Borno State has claimed at least 30 lives. Hundreds of homes were flooded by the incident, which also caused significant damage to properties, including farmland, residential areas, and business premises. The disaster followed the collapse of the Alau Dam, which overflowed its banks, sending floodwaters from about 10 kilometers away into Maiduguri, the state capital. The National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA spokesman Ezekiel Manzo, confirmed the death toll to journalists. Residents, however, said the casualty figure could be higher as several people, including children, remain unaccounted for. Well, now joining me to discuss issues on the news this afternoon, I have Mr. Awa Omiko of the Sunday Editorial Desk. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
All right, then. So let's begin with the Labour Party, right? We have the National Publicity Secretary. Some would call him the factional National Publicity Secretary of the Labour Party, Abayemi Arabambi, coming out to say that Peter Obi hired Aisha Yesufu, Pastor Ito Igodalo, to loot the Labour Party campaign funds. This was after Abure came out to say something to that effect, right? And also after Aisha Yesufu also came out to say that it was Abure who actually mismanaged this fund. There's been a lot of accusations back and forth, but the question is, why has Abayemi Arabambi not come out to say this all this while? Ever since the 2023 presidential elections, he's been making a lot of media appearances. Why haven't he said this before now? Why have they not called a press conference to tell how the Labour Party campaign funds were spent, knowing that Peter Obi and Aisha Yesufu did the same some months ago?
Well, that shows the Labour Party to unify itself. And besides, if this is what Labour Party is do, shows it shows they are like a flash in his hand. The leaders are saying the word loot there is a very heavy adjustment. Hiring people to loot. And if you look at the dramatic spectacle, the characters mentioned, they are people of high integrity. If I look at them do that, neither will Peter Obi. They are not speaking for anybody. But for him to say loot, that word needs to be investigated properly. And I would rather advise that party, if they want to make If they want to make good impression and inway into Nigerian politics, they should go back home and reconcile themselves. And besides, I'm beginning to see an underhand playing out in that party. It is, if you look at what is working there, it is the mastermind of the opposition party trying to disorganize them so that at the end of the day, they will not be able to have a common front to confront and battle with the powers that be in the country. We never can rule that out. It once happened between UPN and NMCC during the 1979 election. I can see how MPC was drastically delayed, and that is exactly the practice they're trying to bring back into Labour Party and other parties. And if for Labour Party to be able to forge ahead, they should go back home, bring all the parties, all the factions within them, and make sure that they put their house in order. If not, this type of thing could pull them back.
There are certain people, including Aisha Yesufu, who have accused Abure of working for the ruling party. We know that Apapa also was accused of working for the ruling party. You have said the Labour Party needs to put their house in order. With all of these different factions, how can they do that? At the recent convention, which was called by Abia State Governor Alex Oti and Peter Obi, where Abure was, pushed aside, and there was a 29-member committee, which was also they also wrote to INEC and said, you need to recognize this 29-member committee. In all of this, would you say Obi is actually trying to unite the party, or is he dividing them further?
No, it's not a matter of dividing. Every party, all the parties have their own challenges. And until they be able to sit down, to reconcile themselves. You don't have to register any faction. Bring them together. Let them hear from each faction. And by the time they hear from each faction, they'll be able to take away the hands of insult out of the party. It is by the time they recognize those ones that are done double dealing and get them out of the party, and they will repass forward. You can never rule that out from any group. There must be some strangers that will be there to destabilize them. And if you look at the first out in LP, the last out in LP had, it was an excellent one. And automatically the ruling parties and other parties that are still threatened will not want that to repeat itself. So the only way they can do, all themselves, call for truth and tell themselves the truth. And that is why I begin to say some of our institutions, even because of the little money, they are even gambling. They are even selling off the country at the price of the which shouldn't be. All these people should have a round table sitting and sort out their differences. If else was forward.
We know that what is happening here right now are allegations of misappropriation of funds, right? Aisha Yesufu is saying that there was a Labour Party account and an Obedient account to which she was a signatory. Now, Oluchi Okpara, the suspended national treasurer, has said that Abure sent money to his family members. Why didn't other stakeholders ask for an internal auditors to probe the Labour Party chairman, Julius Abure, right? Under Abure, the Labour Party announced a 1,000 naira campaign that if people can contribute 1,000 naira each to fund Peter Obi's campaign. This was since 2022. All the embezzlement Abure is being accused of now, is it just for this campaign or since he became the chairman of the Labour Party?
Now, this is exactly what let them call for an internal auditor. Let them call for an internal auditor and go to the account. That shows that the party itself has no stable internal organs. If it has a stable internal organ, all these things are sorted out. But what they should know, all the Capital, Debris, Apapa, or all the various things, let there be a proper organism. By the time there's a organogram on ground, put on ground, they'll be able to use that method to audit the account, properly audit the account. sending all these accusations and allegations to lead them to nowhere. Until they handle the full by on, they'll keep on be talking on this, and at the end of the day, they won't even know when they're done with who.
Mr. Miko, with all these allegations and accusations flying back and forth on corruption, misappropriation, you stole funds, you didn't steal funds, the Labour Party positioned itself as a party of integrity, positioned itself as a party which aligns with the views of the common man. They've always disparaged the economic policies of the present administration and talked about corruption in government and all of that. With all of this, how can their supporters, how can Nigerians believe that Labour is not like other parties?
That is, you have summarized it all, because you can't tell we do that, and at the end of the day you can't have to know that. What is the population of members compared to Nigeria? It's just a speck. It's just a speck, and with that speck, you cannot manage the speck. How can you manage the whole population? And how can you? It's just a way that the Indians are coming to the party, and they allow foreign influence. When I mean foreign influence, I mean non-LP members, I mean members of the opposition party, members of the ruling party.
So you are agreeing that Labour Party has been infiltrated?
I 100%. There is anything like 1 billion%. I agree, because some of them are just there pretending to be working for LP. Whereas they are for other ruling party.
But in all of this, what is stopping Obi from setting up another party? If Abure is saying that more than 1/3 of the quorum needed to re-elect him as chairman attended his convention that he called in March, does it mean they don't like Obi enough? Should he be seeing the signs on the wall and moving to establish another political party, or move to another established political party and try to be their presidential candidate?
Mind you, LP is a movement. It is not yet. It's just pretending, dancing to the political party. It's not. It's a movement. And that movement will be as a representative. And if we decide to do otherwise, it will be dancing alone in the market. So all what we need to do for every leader to a match, there must do some obstacles. Let's be called schools, call the factions in because if you say you have to and if you look at all the youth movement following him, they are not just following him because they want to follow him. They were following him because of what. And the very moment you lose that crowd.
If Obi leaves the Labour Party, he will lose the crowd of followers that he currently has. All right, then let's go to Edo State, where Governor Obaseki is saying that he may not sign the peace accord ahead of the September 21 governorship elections. The PDP has also raised concerns that River State former governor and current minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike's allies and his associates are being deployed to key positions in the lead up to the elections. The chairman of the PDP in Edo State is expressing discomfort. He's saying, there is a well-documented disagreement between Edo State governor and Wike. So why should Wike's people be sent to oversee what is going on in Edo State? He says the party is seeing this as a recipe for disaster. In fact, the party has accused the state police commissioner of being on the side of the APC. They've accused the state INEC resident electoral commissioner of being on the side of the APC, sidelining them, that there is a clear bias. And if all of this is the case, then Governor Godwin Obaseki is saying he will not sign a peace accord, because obviously it will be false. It will be a lie.
We are trying to state what is not. Peace accord before good election. Nothing but it's a documentation that has never been found to work. What has been happening to the various peace accords? You want to sign a peace accord when you already confronted me. You want to sign a peace accord when you know that you've already gotten all the whole structure of the state against me, and now want me to stop. That be dead and make it cry. They must fire. And if you look at all the whole peace accords, they are nothing but a general dispute. It has never held. It's principle. has ever accused anybody of it. If these accords are working, what happened to last elections in Lagos State, when some people targeted at a particular ethnic group and said they will not vote? It does not fight peace accord. How about peace accord in other places?
So are you saying that the governor is right in refusing to sign the peace accord, saying that the elections may have already been compromised even before it begins? The INEC rec in Edo State is Wike's cousin. He also served as a special advisor of land to Wike in River State. The current Edo State Commissioner of Police is also a close associate of Wike, and the PDP is saying, look, with all of this, we do not think they will act in the best interest of Edo people towards us. They might want to help the APC.
By now, they should have been removed. They should have brought in. And besides, I never seen a complex do the elections. Only Jonathan, the story. He was a very calm man. I never seen a sitting governor I never seen a champion wanting to leave the state. No. APC want to within their powers. Everything they can do to emasculate the people there and have and be in charge of that shit. And indeed, they have they have to put their trust as strategic positions that will enable them to carry out their plan. And all these things boil down to the system of government that we are practicing. And it goes down to the structure. INEC should be allowed to be independent or truly independent. And that's appointed by the head of state or the governor. And expand what is the sense of state INEC. They should remove that. And because they are practicing a system of government that is at the executive, that everything is executive presidency, executive government, you expect of they have to keep their powers to the last limit to make sure that they get what they want. So until you begin to change these structures, until you begin to go back to the grassroots to do the needful with the governor or whatever, we just be kind over skin milk. And it's so pathetic. And as it is in Edo, so it is in Rivers, so it is everywhere. Why will a VK be controlling Edo State? Of what impact? But simply because of the vested interest. What you see them want to make sure the power the power at the center maintains Edo State. And that is not fair to our development and policy.
All right.
And that is not even fair to the people of Nigeria.
Okay, talking about being fair to the people of Nigeria, I want to move on to the issue of the fuel subsidy funding, right? In a recent revelation that's been described as jarring and shocking, the Nigerian Economic Summit Group is saying that in 2010, the 30 state governors in Nigeria spent $50 billion, which was in the excess crude account. Now, this money should have served as a buffer, should have served as a cushion for petrol subsidy challenges that the nation would have faced if petrol subsidy was removed. Now, he said in 2010, the 30 state governors approached the Supreme Court, told the Supreme Court to declare the excess crude account illegal, and so that they can share the funds. Then the federal government, then between late President Yar'Adua's death and when former President Goodluck Jonathan took over, that the money was disbursed to them and it was spent recklessly, and it has led to Nigeria's fuel subsidy problem because the country moved from a savings-based subsidy to a revenue-based subsidy. The question I want to ask is, 4 months after subsidy removal on May 29, 2023, the federal government said it has saved about 1.4 trillion naira and it's projected saving up to 8 trillion naira annually. The president said the subsidy savings will be channeled towards improving the lives of Nigerians. We do know that subsidy removal was in the pipeline already during Jonathan's tenure. It was greatly opposed. If this report is indeed true, does it mean the governors did that to frustration? Why has it not been mentioned since? Many people have said this administration has a penchant for making excuses. Why have they not used this as an excuse for non-performance to the extent that Nigerians expect them to perform?
You see, it boils down to the free and the wastage the land. In fact, though, I would rather say people have some muscle. Let's go back to the time of passenger. You can see that there was a time in this country, if you're a non-performing government, passenger will hold the money sent to that state. Obasanjo did it and it succeeded. Heaven for. Why can't this governor that claims to want to put it right not like if you the money we have given to you, what have you done? The state has is to withhold other funds going to that state until you give account of what you have done to the people towards. If nothing is done to that, you see them keep up plundering this. And it is that plundering that has brought us to the situation where we are. That is not and going to the future. And that's why the economy is what it is. And if nothing is seriously done, that there's going to be much more artists until the president. We shouldn't be prepared. Mr. People shouldn't and begin to pass work that these are the posts. Let's begin to implement. Let it begin. He's not the president of Abuja. He's the president of Nigeria and also Nigeria. And he's accountable to every Nigerian. Let him fucking what Obasanjo did to that. Even Obasanjo affected the negatively. When he changed, moved Lagos to 50 local government. Until he now started down to say, let them be LCA. Can't he use that measure to change other states? But because you want to remain a first head of state, and you can't satisfy everybody. Because you want to remain a first head of state, I want everybody to seem to be good, and that is suffering because problem is going around. And until he starts on his food, they are not going to do anything meaningful. Let him go to work. Stop those people. Bring them to let them express the law. Let them be tried for offenses. And you know that economic issues should move away from politics to crime. It is a task against state. And they should call those governors to order. All right. They want people to begin to die and the family of the state. That's it is good enough to even turn the whole state around. Good enough to make our schools work. Good enough to make our hospitals work. Good enough to make the agricultural sector work. Good enough to give us more than a sufficient food on the table of all the families. But now, go to the general hospitals, they are more or less less to health centers. So nothing works because the federal government has the governors. They are not monitoring these governors and they are using this money for their own personal goods. Until we do the needful, we can never move ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Awamiko, for joining me on the World News at 12 this afternoon. It's always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You have been listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. To wrap up the news, here again are the top stars. You heard that Trump has refused to commit to a second debate with Vice President Kamala Harris. Labour Party reveals that Peter Obi hired Aisha Yesufu and Godalo to loot campaign funds. Governor Obaseki threatens to boycott peace accord in Edo State, and revelations emerge on how governors led federal government into borrowing to fund fuel subsidy. Over 30 confirmed dead and 1 million affected as flood ravages Borno State. And that's it on the World News at 12. Just before, thank you for staying with us. My name is Chioma Innocent. Please follow our social media handles at VOP903FM. For coverage of your live events and brand news mentioned in our news bulletins, do send a mail to news@voiceofthepeople.ng. Good afternoon and thank you for listening. Do stay tuned. Alhaji Action is coming up next with Area Matter.